Happy Monday, good people, and welcome to WWT Live. Today on the show, WrestleMania finally has a home. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about new champions, releases, call-ups, and diss tracks. All of that and more today on WWT Live.
Hello, guys. This is La Mera Mera Thunder Rosa, and I'm here to tell you that you're watching Women Wrestling Talk.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
Happy Monday, good people, and welcome to WWT Live as part of Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. I am your professor, Gerard Bonner, GB, Teflon G, pick a name, I don't mind. We have a lot to talk about. Firstly, I hope you all survived Star Wars Day on Saturday, which also served as Backlash Day, the Kentucky Derby, and then there was Cinco de Mayo yesterday. So I'm not sure what kind of shape you're in, but I'm glad that you are here. And thankfully, I am not alone to delve into all of the news of the day and then some. I am joined by the one who has those great honey pot predictions. It is Wrestling with Honey. How are you?
Doing fantabulous on this aftermath of Backlash and Cinco de Mayo, and may the 4th be with you, and bonjour for France. You know, it's like a little bit of everything. It's like hello all around the world.
Yes, yes.
Let's get into it.
All of the things. So is it safe to say that you had a good weekend?
It is definitely safe to say I had a good weekend. I had a very cool weekend. I had a lot of fun. We did our Backlash watch along with Kyle from Knockouts and 3 Counts podcast. And then we also did the post show with Jay and Kyle as well, which was a lot of fun. It was really, really cool. Cinco de Mayo was really chill. Watched some sports.
Yeah.
Called it a day.
Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. Well, the chat is starting to light up already. Of course, Matt is in the building. Always good to see you. MDB, welcome aboard. And Dylan, official happy Tuesday to you, since you are always a wee bit ahead of the rest of us. So that's pretty awesome. So there is so much to get into. We will certainly delve a little bit into some of the things that happened this weekend, but probably the biggest piece of news from the weekend is that we finally got an announcement about WrestleMania. We were told Friday night on SmackDown that on Saturday, initially it was supposed to be at 12 noon, there would be an announcement about WrestleMania. Then we were told it would happen somewhere during the Kentucky Derby pre-show following Backlash. I'll tell you, the power of WWE is they can get you watching things that you had no intention of watching, which included the Kentucky Derby for me. But at the end of the day, we find out that WrestleMania is headed to Vegas. WrestleMania 41 will go in Las Vegas. Now, there were a lot of questions about what the date would be. We had heard that they would do their best not to conflict with the Final Four. We also heard that they may even consider the month of May. Well, Mania is going to be very, very interesting this year. It goes to Vegas April 19th and 20th at Allegiant Stadium. It's significant for a few reasons. It's the first time that WrestleMania has been in Vegas since WrestleMania 9. That is a 32-year drought, folks. And when it was WrestleMania 9, of course, it was outside at Caesar's Palace. For those who may remember, that was the WWE debut of one Jim Ross. Very interesting there. Of course, he was in his toga and the like. Well, things have changed quite a bit as WrestleMania has moved to Vegas in Allegiant Stadium. The last time they were in Allegiant Stadium, it was their first pay-per-view once they really opened things up following the pandemic. So things are getting very, very interesting. Again, Vegas, the home for WrestleMania. So I already saw a couple of comments talking about let me back up. Talking about Minneapolis, because Boza says, I feel for Minneapolis. They had been under the assumption that they got it. The date surprised me. So let's talk about some of those things, which I knew people would have questions about. So the people from Minnesota, the city officials and the like, were informed that WWE chose to go to Vegas this time, and they said that this was a result of the new direction from the new ownership of WWE. So that is on the Minneapolis side. Whether or not Minneapolis ends up happening in the future, only time will tell. Now, to the dates, April the 19th and 20th. Some have asked, has WrestleMania ever been this late? It got close. And the closest one was just a couple of years ago when they did it for the pandemic, and it was close to those dates. I think it was the week before. So this is relatively one of the later WrestleManias for sure, but the design of it was to avoid the NCAA Final Four and the NFL draft. So again, kind of what we talked about before, Nick Khan is very, very conscious of working around other sporting events and the like, so that there's no real issue when it comes to WrestleMania. So let's have the conversation, honey, because I remember when you got the announcement. What were your feelings and what are your feelings about WrestleMania officially going to Vegas?
This is by no means a knock on Minnesota, but you got to go where the money is. And not for nothing, Vegas is all about the money. And also, it makes sense for WWE to do this, being that they've already pulled off some things this year in Vegas that got us watching, and especially if you know the press conference, the infamous press conference where the slap heard around the world had happened. So it only makes sense for this to kind of not repeat itself, but be in the similar location for it around the same season next year. Also, I think this is a great look as far as WWE and, you know, the merge of TKO, because this is, you know, kind of in their route, and being that they have, you know, had the merge with UFC and everything like that. I'm sure and being that Battleground is going to be there, you know, is it Battleground? Yeah. NXT Battleground is going to be held there. So it's just like, we knew that they were cooking up something. We knew that they were experimenting with a lot of things with Vegas. So it only made sense for them to stick with Vegas. And being that they have their biggest events there, boxing, UFC, you name it, concerts, all kinds of things. And Nick Khan, honestly, with the date, it kind of says to me, I'll meet you in the middle. You know, the draft happens usually around the 20, like in the 20s, the mid to late 20s. Right. And then you have the Final Four happening in the beginning of the month. So Nick Khan was just doing his part as far as his awareness to make sure that he wasn't in the way of the other sports. So, I mean, what a good look and a good way to keep this together, as far as, you know, this could tell a lot of stories going forward. A lot of great things have happened in Allegiant Stadium in WWE in history, period. So this is actually really cool. And for that to be a 32-year gap, that's pretty insane. I completely forgot about that in WrestleMania 9. But I'm excited. I'm really excited for this. And I really love the logo with the stacked cards. It's kind of, you know, it's given very Vegas. And
it is.
I don't imagine a better place for it happening this next year, honestly.
Let's get to some of these comments, as I knew there would be quite a few. MDB says they're hosting WrestleMania in the best stadium in the NFL outside of SoFi. Well, SoFi, of course, is an amazing stadium. And to think that they just did SoFi now 2 years ago, WWE definitely scouts out great stadiums for sure for moments like this. Boza says, my own theory, I wonder if this is a reaction to the fact that Caitlin Clark drew big numbers for the NCAA Women's Final Four and WWE was shocked. I'd say no, because remember, this Mania was the largest gate in history and broke every single viewing record and all of those things. So that wasn't an issue. And Caitlin Clark's game was not directly opposed to WrestleMania. It was actually earlier in the day. So that ended up not being a problem at all. Let's see. Dylan says Mania on 420, Matt Riddle coming back confirmed. That's hilarious.
You better add RVD.
Well, that part. We didn't even get into the significance of that weekend, because that weekend is 420. And it's funny because I told you guys a couple of weeks ago, for those who might remember, about that particular date, because it was 420 and it was Easter Sunday as well. So it should be very interesting. But as I get ready to go to more comments, of course, the mayor is officially here. We've got
Perfect
a mayor's
timing.
welcome who's here to ruffle the feathers. Said is here. How are you, sir?
Oh, the tie-ins get better every week. They get better every week.
Thank you, sir.
And speaking of 420 needs, I got some munchies right now, so
that.
that works as well.
Oh boy!
So I guess we're talking about Vegas 2025 WrestleMania. You know what? To be completely blunt about this might be the only
pun intended. Pun intended.
I see what you did there.
I didn't even realize I did that.
I see what you did there, sir.
That was not intentional. But see, it works nonetheless. But no, to be honest here, this might be the only 2-day WrestleMania that will be absolutely worth it. Because you're spending your time in a city that has so many other options to do other stuff. Like you want to stay out at night and gamble, be on the strip, party, go do the restaurant thing. I'm pretty sure it'll be warm enough around that time to hit a pool party. There's so many other options that aren't wrestling related. And we know the WWE, when they come to a stop, they turn the entire city out. So I'm curious how that's going to work. If like how WWE Access will be partnered up with the shopping aspect of things, with some of the meet and greets. Are you going to have to, are they going to be able to book out certain hotels for that type of thing? Because when you're on the strip, there's a lot of walking involved.
Yes.
So people are going to be sweating a lot. So WWE, I'm telling you, get that deodorant sponsorship ready for your fan base. That's number one. But also, it would probably behoove them to do some things away from the strip, especially meet and greet wise, just so you're already going to have lines in the strip. You want to make sure you make it as intimate as possible. So that's the curious thing. But they have an entire year to plan things out, and it's going to be later than normal. So I think I think this WrestleMania is sold out very early, but I think you have more time to even pack out more people and even plan out the other extracurriculars like your NXT Stand and Deliver, your SmackDowns and your Raws. There's so many other ways to build a truly remarkable event, and that's what I like.
There are some I've got some ideas. I just don't want to forget them. So I want to go to, matter of fact, let me write it down because there's a very interesting tie-in here that I think if they're able to pull this off will make this weekend must see. So let's see. Allegiant Stadium is a beautiful venue. I believe. I can't wait to get in there. Boza says, I hope the Wi-Fi works better at Allegiant. Heard from people that went to the Money in the Bank show that the Wi-Fi was down. You couldn't pay for anything with a credit or debit card, including food and drinks. What I will say to that is that was 2021. Vegas has undergone they've just kind of had a renaissance happen in Vegas. There was a period, which is one of the reasons why I think there's been a 32-year gap for WWE, because Vegas just was not that attractive. It was only a couple of years ago that they brought Allegiant Stadium to Vegas when the Raiders came. And then from there, Vegas has just become a hotbed, and now I think it's going to be a central place with UFC and WWE under the same umbrella. It's now looking to see how can we, cross-pollinate here? How can we leverage both of the resources that we are accustomed to? And so that leads me to this. In thinking about, Hall of Fame, SmackDown, Stand and Deliver, there are three places that come to mind that could house this. There's, of course, the T-Mobile Arena, which, that's where they did the press conference, the WrestleMania kickoff press conference. There's Thomas and Mack over at UNLV, which they've done quite a few things there at WWE. But then there's this new little venue that they call the Sphere. Now, the Sphere, already it has been said, it's just been designed for concerts only. However, in September, the first non-concert event will take place there, and it is a UFC confrontation. So with UFC hosting an event, my theory is that that's going to be a tester to see how that happens in there, because rest assured, if WWE gets inside of the Sphere, you're going to see something the likes of which you have never seen before. It'll be interesting to see how all of this goes down, but trust and believe WWE has a plan, and the plan is amazing. Matt, I like the way you think. Start saving now. That is correct.
It's no shame.
Because you better believe they're gonna pump up the prices. Otherwise, I like that it's in Vegas. Wonder if WWE will recreate the toga party they had in WrestleMania 9. I highly doubt that. I sincerely doubt that.
And from a Wi-Fi standpoint, nothing could have been worse than Tropicana this past January. Like the Wi-Fi was bad for everyone. Like
wow,
I couldn't send a tweet, couldn't read anything on my phone the entire Royal Rumble.
Yikes. That's no fun.
Well, that's something to keep in mind.
Let's see. Special nobodies. I was just in Vegas 2 weeks ago looking for an Airbnb property to buy. Hey, now would be the right time, because I know a few people that might want to participate in said B&B. Cousin, good to see you. Good to see you. Let's see what else we have. Yeah, the Sphere. I can't wait for that. AEW doing Double or Nothing in Old Vegas is only a matter of time. Yeah, you're right. Because here's the funny part. They're doing it back at MGM Grand, and there was a time where MGM Grand was like the spot.
The spot, yeah.
Not the spot anymore.
Not anymore.
Premier spot for 90s boxing.
Yeah.
Way past those days.
Exactly. So this is going to be very, very interesting. MDB is asking for something, but I'm not going to give it to him yet. I'm just not going to. But let me say this, though. I wish I had pulled up a picture of the Sphere. Have you guys seen the Sphere?
I've seen pictures of it. I've actually seen a couple of videos of friends of mine that went to go see U2 in the Sphere. Like it's insane.
Here's what's super cool. I was there this summer, and while I was there, it wasn't the Final Four that was there, but there was was it the WNBA championship that was there? That might have been there. What happens is, so the outside of the Sphere is a complete LED situation. And much like New York City, when you fly in, you see, the skyline and all those kinds of things. When you fly into Vegas, you see kind of the whole strip and things, but you also see the Sphere. Wow. And they actually had the design of a full basketball covering the Sphere. It was crazy. Wow. So I can only imagine what the WWE is going to do with the Sphere when you come into town. It's gonna be special. So I just think if you guys get to Vegas or can get to Vegas, you'll want to, and something tells me that this is gonna be crazy. But congratulations to Vegas. They're hosting Mania. They're gonna go crazy, because for all that Philly did with Mania, Vegas is primed for this. So this is gonna be wild.
Good.
It's gonna be very, very good. Now then, let's talk about some of the things that happened this weekend. Again, there was a full post show. So if you want to get our full opinions on Backlash, go ahead and check out the post show. But there are a couple of things that we had to grab coming from Backlash. And of course, with this being women's wrestling talk, we have to talk about the fact that there are new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. And they are Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. They won this tag team title match. And I wanted to get your thoughts, guys, on just this match, what you think this means for the tag division going forward, and what kind of champions do you think Bianca and Jade will be?
If you're talking about the image, I mean, it's absolutely beautiful alone. Just seeing these two women, you can't put these two alpha females together and not expect them to have some kind of strong union, and you might as well just throw the strap on them. As far as the match goes, it was a little shaky for me in some spots. If some of you guys saw it at the Backlash post show, I did express that. I was kind of, I was a little bit put off by some of the bots. I don't know if they were actual botches that happened, but there were some miscommunications and things going on in that match where I was kind of confused, and it was kind of a little frustrating to watch. But at the end of the day, the end result was the end result. I think Jade Cargill definitely saved the match with all of that maneuvering that she did to Kairi Sane, and twisting and turning and and flipping her and just completely power bombing her for the win. I love this for these two. I can't wait to see what kind of journey this is going to be for these tag team champions. I think this is well deserved. There's a way to get gold on Jade Cargill, being that she's just joined us last year. And Bianca, I believe Seth was the one who said it, but Bianca's now Triple Crown. And why not? Let's do it. Let's just see where they topple the mountain from here.
Said.
So I got to go run some of Backlash back, but I did get to see this match. First thing that stands out is that Jade was absolutely ready. The PC is obviously working. If she's doing springboard splashes, like imagine like how this is going to look several months from now. I think the confusion, people are putting it in the chat, but there was a part of the match where Kyrie wasn't legal, I think.
Right.
And a pinfall happened, and the ref kind of waved it off, and they had to actually go through a moment to do the tag. I mean, stuff like that happens. I'm glad that the ref kept things honest and kept things on track. Honest mistake. But I mean, just the visual of this, the fact that they are on the King and Queen of the Ring poster says a lot to me when your SmackDown Women's Champion is not on the poster. So just featuring them as this dominant pairing going forward. Again, I thought it'd be hard pressed for them to lose. I'd have been more surprised if they didn't claim the titles right away, even if it was like a DQ finish or dusty finish or something like that. I'm more interested in who their adversaries are going to be. Like, how do you build tag teams that can honestly storylines going? Because I think everybody immediately thinks of how it's going to end and who's going to be the one to cast the first stone there. So I just hope that they build the tag team division around these two right now, give them credible challengers, actually utilize all three shows to give them a meaningful title run. Like, they should absolutely pop up at NXT on a random Tuesday night to like have an open challenge and really make the titles mean something again.
I was going to piggyback off of that said too. Not to cut you off, Professor, because I know you want to say something, but that was one of the things that I was looking at as far as because a lot of people were in the chat while we were doing the post show talking about wonder what's going to happen when these two split. Like, listen, guys, I don't want to fall into that hole of wanting to bury the tag teams that was just created, especially with those being as credible as individuals as they are, as Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. I don't want to really think about so much what's going to happen by the end just yet. I don't want to fall into that. I want to enjoy this journey the same way I enjoyed the road to WrestleMania. I want to enjoy this journey with these two women because both of them do deserve this. So I don't kind of want to put them against each other yet. We know that could go on in the foreseeable future because that's kind of their formula and things like that. But let's not go into breaking these two up so fast because it's just too good to pass up to not have them together. I mean, the social media is on fire. When they're in the ring, it's on fire. When they're doing promos, they're on fire. When they're doing press conferences, they're killing it. So it's like, let's just bask in the ambiance of these two alpha females rightfully becoming tag team champions and let them rock with it and give them credible challengers going forward.
To illustrate that point, I have a video right now on my socials that you guys need to check out about this very topic. And I won't give the whole thing away, but trust me, I will echo what Honey has said. And that is, let's not try. And this is funny because TK will quickly say she loves to read the end of the book first. Don't be like TK. Enjoy the book the way that it is written. Okay. I really believe that's one of the things that today's wrestling fans don't do a good job of. We're so busy. As soon as somebody wins a title, the first question is who's going to take the title from them, that we don't enjoy what we have in front of us. And I think for most of us, everybody, when you saw Jade Cargill show up, immediately thought Jade versus Bianca. We never thought what Jade and Bianca together on our screens would look like. And this has been already something super special. And I hope that we will do a good job as fans of resisting the urge to kind of, fantasy book for WrestleMania 41 and 42. No, enjoy this because something like this is something that you don't see every day. And I don't know the next time we'll get to see two amazing women like this doing what they are doing. They are real life superheroes. So please take advantage of this and enjoy every photo op, enjoy every press conference, enjoy every match. And there are some real things that are happening with this. I'll get into some of that in a second, but there are lots of comments here in the chat, and I want to make sure I get to some of them. Let's see. Oh, where did it go? And it left me that fast, but I think it's back. Oh well. So be it.
A lot of comments, a lot of chit chat.
There's a lot. Jeffrey, good to see you. Hopefully what happens in Vegas at WrestleMania stays there. No, I think it's going to be broadcast throughout the world, actually. So that'll be interesting. So I think we will get into this. Cousin Ron says, I need the whole U.S. to chant to step up their chanting game. France made us look bad, and I presume Germany will do the same. I'm coming back to that comment. So let's stick a pin in that. I'm coming back to that. Don't let me forget to come back to that. Dylan says, Jade putting in that work at the PC. That was really one of the first things that I noticed is this match was the longest match we've ever seen from Jade Cargill. And she did an awful lot in this match. The fact that Bianca and Jade have never been tag champs and this is their first, yes, that is exciting. I think this will be a great thing for Jade. Being women's champion will allow Jade to get in reps on TV across all three brands. Precisely. I think that is a definite win from all of this. I can see Tiffy Time and Dakota Kai teaming up as a tag team to challenge Bianca and Jade. That could be interesting. Could be interesting for sure. I'm interested to see how well Tiffy will play with others. That's going to be the real question.
Right.
Let's see. Eric says, congrats to Jade and Bianca, continuing on the great run of Black champions being crowned in wrestling. And there are a lot of us, and I'm very, very proud of that. I would say Becky, Roxanne, and Bailey, and whoever wins the North American Championship at Battleground needs to have eyes in the back of their heads for sure. Agreed. Let's see. So many comments. I love this. Let's see. Eric says, I'd love to see Jade and Bianca versus Lash and Jada in NXT in the future. That'd be interesting. I think Lash and Jakara would probably have something to say about that. Jade has a championship 3 months in her third match, which is crazy. This is like how Obafemi is North American champion already. Slight difference, of course. Jade had a few more reps than Obafemi, but for sure, this is a major move for Jade Cargill. Them being allowed, yes, they can challenge for any or on any brand. Honey is right. Let's enjoy them as champions, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. People rush to take champions off of the championships off of the champs. They do, and that's unfortunate. Let's see. Naomi and Sasha are like, what are we, chopped liver? No, I don't think they are. Of course, Naomi was on the same card, which we all remember. And then Jeffrey, 2 women with 12 packs. Hilarious. Special Nobody's Cocoa Butter Combat Club for the win. Interesting name. Cocoa Butter Combat Club. So I want to go back to this comment from Cousin Ron. I need the whole U.S. to step their chanting game up. France made us look bad, and I presume Germany will do the same. Let's have a conversation about this Lyon, France crowd. I go back to last year, and when WWE did their European tour, and everybody was saying we need to bring a pay-per-view to France, and they went on and brought Backlash to PLE. Or Backlash to France, a PLE to France. What's interesting to me, and I wonder, and I want to ask this question, has WWE figured out the right formula for Backlash? Meaning, get Backlash out of the continental U.S., and for instance, it was in Puerto Rico last year. That's where we had the massive Bad Bunny entrance. This year, we're in France. Is that the right move? And why do you think that international fans seem to outdo American fans every single time?
I'm not sure why, but they're just really good at it. I mean, it was, they sell out stadiums, man. And stadiums in Philly, it was loud, but they were I believe they were in an enclosed building, and they just seemed to have sounded a lot louder than anywhere you've heard before. Like, they were constantly and consistently chanting the whole way through. We were even talking about it during the watch along. We were like, these fans are insane. Like half the time, I think they were singing songs that had nothing to do with the matches. You know, it was just really wild. And though I know, and a lot of people will give me some flack for saying this, but they're, you know, when it comes to Puerto Rico, you get no louder and rowdy than Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico honestly was a mighty crowd last year, and I quite enjoyed my people and their crowd. But France definitely gave them a run for their money this year. I think the formula is very smart for what WWE is doing as far as giving us a little bit of a rest from the long monthly hangover of WrestleMania and bringing it out to France, because remember, I remember saying on the post, you know, on the WWT live show before Backlash was happening, that it seems like it was a very calm card. You know, it was a very low key card, just 5 matches, just straight to the point, nothing really crazy stipulated or anything like that. But the crowd itself made it feel like it was a massive card. Like it might as well have been a WrestleMania. So I think it was just more so about the feeling and the energy. And it also makes it better for the superstars because they feed off of energy like that. So the rowdier you are, the crazier you are, the much better, or more better, do I want to say it that way? The more that they'll put in that work in the ring, you know, and actually gravitate towards that energy. So, I mean, I think the formula is pretty smart for what they're doing of how they did it. It worked last year with Puerto Rico, but I don't know. I might have to watch both pay-per-views back to back just to see which one really, really hit the loudest. I mean, technically they did get a warning, a noise level warning, several of them. So technically maybe they might have one beat on Puerto Rico. They might have one up on them, but I don't know, man. Puerto Rico was a pretty hot crowd for me.
There's a vibe. Said your thoughts.
Just nuts. And I mean, the formula is bulletproof at this point, not just for Backlash, for the entire summer.
Yes.
And that's what it's going to be going forward. And if people aren't, I don't want to say people, I want to say if we're not careful, this is going to be the formula for the big four, at least for a couple years to test it out, because to Honey's credit, this isn't like some amazing card. And they are like rallying in uniform and loud just for what they received. Imagine if this was a WrestleMania, or at the very least a Royal Rumble, when you actually have uniform chants that should exist with the countdown. Right. They are uniform as is. And I don't want to say that over here, like people are too cool or can't unite and stuff like that. But sometimes that exists at a wrestling show where people just are maybe not even that secure or comfortable in their skin to like actually chant and shout at the show. So that does exist. But over there, just like they're in the environment and in the moment because they don't always get these shows. And they're showing that that's how rowdy they can be. Eventually, they're going to get a big four. I don't know which one, but they're going to pilot it out really soon. And it's really just them being uniform. Just like with Jey Uso's entrance, like that was insane. And the wrestlers do absolutely feed off the energy. There was a part of the match that I'm pretty sure was not written in during the first tag match where Orton teased that he was going to do a splash off the guardrail. And it's like, and he was able to kind of feed into that because the energy was already so high. Yeah. So like when the energy is that high, you can actually get that live show feel. And I'm pretty sure that's what WWE's been trying to capture in the bottle, is like the same type of feel you get at a live show in the States, but on a PLE.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun energy.
It's very interesting. And, I think the answer to that probably deals more with society outside of wrestling than inside of wrestling, because I do believe that the people that come in are a microcosm of the society that they're in. And, I'll say this carefully, for a country whose name has united, we're not very united. And so it shows in these kinds of moments. I think it also says to me how quickly we forget. Remember how on fire U.S. Audiences were right after the pandemic, when we were first able to get back to a show. The crowds were the loudest they'd ever been.
The relief.
Yeah, people were excited because they missed wrestling. And I think the problem in the United States is there's always this thought of, you know what, we can catch the next show. We'll see them again when they come back to town. There's not this feeling like they may not be back for a year or 2 years or ever. There's not that. There's a different kind of appreciation internationally for this WWE product. But that's a general appreciation for life in general. The other thing is nobody was trying to be a star because they understood that together we stand. So here's what was interesting to me. There were so many chants that were amazing, but I cannot get out of my head the songs that they were singing during any time AJ Styles showed up.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so to the point where I was like, I need to understand what this is about. So let me explain what this is about. This is crazy. So anytime AJ did something or anytime anything was centered around the word phenomenal, they went up. And they went up because phenomenal, there's a song that they sing at these soccer games in France connected to phenomenal. And that's the song they were singing anytime AJ Styles did anything. So when he did the promo Friday night and they just started singing, that's why. When he'd pull off an offensive move, that's why. They were that united. And so I think that is incredible to me. Not just that, but Dylan's point here. They knew every lyric of everybody's theme song.
Yes.
They sung Randy Orton's theme song.
The whole thing. They sang American Nightmare. They sang Free Kingdom all the way until the end. Like even after the music was done, they would finish. And the Randy Orton one had sent me because I was like, I thought I was the only one who sang that song all the way.
Yeah. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. And to me, watching that was a clinic. You saw how the fans, they all started, doing the chant and the move with Naomi during her theme. She said that's the first time any whole crowd has ever done that. So a lot of these wrestlers were getting a first time ever kind of feeling. And that says something for these people who have been, many of them around the world and had all sorts of exposure in a lot of places. So I think the U.S. can really learn a lot. There was a comment I want to jump to very, very quickly from Boza. He says, if you take the fans out of it, it's true this card was blah. It's bad when you can tell who would win before the show starts. I bet a lot of us went 5 for 5. But here's the thing. The thing about wrestling is this is not a space where you can take the crowd out. Let me hearken us back to the pandemic when there was no crowd and how many people were just like, oh my God, we need the crowd back, right? So there is a marriage between the crowd and what's presented to us on stage, much like music. An artist can perform virtually, but they get a different level of energy when their audience is cheering for them and singing their songs and dancing with them. And so I think as Americans or wherever you are, whenever you get the opportunity to go to a show, you need to take full advantage of it. Show all of the love you possibly can to all of these wrestlers. Because here's what happens. Based on how you respond is how they determine whether or not we're going to come back, And so I think there are certain places that probably won't see WWE anytime soon because the crowds are so just whatever, So shout out to France. They were just amazing. And I just can't wait to see what else happens. Let's see. The pandemic era gave us great TV. Yeah, it did. After a while.
It did, but imagine, but Dylan, imagine the pop it would have gotten if you actually had a crowd there while Becky and Stone Cold were slinging beers and stunning Byron Saxton all over the place. That would have been pretty crazy.
We've got this news, Boza. We'll be getting to it, so sit tight. So then let's move quickly because we talked about great moments, and this was another great moment. This entrance from Jey Uso, which many are saying is the entrance of the year so far. And it
was the Bad Bunny entrance of this year.
And they all happened at Backlash.
Yeah.
And so you've got this entrance, but then on top of that, you have Jey Uso. Following this, his music then gets played at an NBA game. the Cleveland Cavaliers game, the DJ during game 7 of this game threw this music on and instructed the people with what to do. So we're moving to a space now where Jey Uso is now in that special group of wrestlers who transcends the pro wrestling bubble and goes into mainstream spaces. And I think this is a really awesome scenario. And there's the question that I was getting via text message, and I'll ask you guys, and that is this: did WWE miss a moment by not crowning Jey Uso as champion at Backlash?
Oh
no,
oh,
that
no,
would have undermined everything that we did with Damian Priest, making him transitional and whatever we're doing with the bloodline now.
Yeah,
I just think it lets you know how, and I would love to see how the Yeet sales are doing for the merch. I would love to see like how, if he's been top 5, top 10, how that's been going, the different variations of the shirt. But I mean, there's more stories to tell. I think this just allows them to know that you have something with Jey that you can pull the trigger on. You keep it in your back pocket. Like whatever's going on with the bloodline story, maybe you can keep him away from that for an extended period of time just because you actually have something there. Or, hear me out, maybe whatever plans you have for Money in the Bank, go to Jey's way.
That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea at all.
I mean, listen, the guy has main event in his name now. There's no taking him out of that. You know, he's been built up so much, and his story was told so well, and his buildup was done so well, to the point where now, look, everybody follows exactly what this man does the minute he touches that ring and he's doing his entrance. It looked absolutely beautiful. It looked like a freaking movie. Like I'm looking at Jey Uso. I'm like, dude, who are you? Who are you now, and how did you get here? And for those of y'all who don't know, if you haven't found out how Jey got here, you better go back and run it back 3 years ago, because it's just been a beautiful telling of a story. And the crowd was just so with it. You know, it was kind of like, I made a little comment during the show. It was like Bray Wyatt kind of threw in a favor to the audience, and there was fireflies going up and down, yeeting all over the place in Lyon, France for Jey Uso. So it was like a very nice collaboration of that. That had to be something special, especially for the superstars to see. I had never seen anything done like that before. And even like, as you said, Professor, with Naomi's entrance, nobody was really doing the glow thing with her, and now everybody's going to be doing it. And because everybody caught on, it has to be done every time that way now. It has to be. It just has to be done that way. And you know, main event Jey Uso, man, he turned it out with just his entrance alone. He didn't even have to win. He was the highlight of the night. He won already. He won already with that entrance.
The only drawback is that the overseas audience are going to like really hype up these Death Rebel themes that we absolutely hate in the States. That's the only drawback.
Wait, we don't like this Jey Uso theme song?
No, there's other Death Rebel themes that don't do as well or are perceived as well, I would say. Nothing wrong with Jey's. I personally prefer Naomi's I'm Amazing theme, and I personally prefer Tiffany's OG theme in NXT, and they kind of low-key changed it. And whatever they did with Damian Priest thing, we're putting the All Rise thing before that. That was weird too. I don't know if anybody caught that. That was the first time I've heard that theme.
Yeah,
his Judgment Day theme was like a rip off his old NXT theme. I don't know when that changed.
Yeah, the same. I don't know. I'll be like Death Rebel.
Like, you don't gotta announce your slogan at the beginning of your theme for me to know who you are. And I feel like that's what they're doing a lot of. I don't know. I've noticed that.
I think it's more so about the pop, like, because it's all about that sound. You know what I'm saying? Like, take an example, WrestleMania 40. Everything's happening in the ring that second night. Everybody's going crazy. That gong hit. The gong hit. Like, you know, just even the sound. I mean, some people have words like Jey has ooh, so, and you already know who's coming out. So it's just more so about being able to identify, I guess. You know, you're just trying to, they're trying to get other people to identify who's coming out with using their theme songs. And I think that's a cool way to do it. Maybe the All Rise thing isn't really necessary,
That's
but
corny.
maybe it's not. Maybe it's not.
Corny.
But who am I to say? I'm not producing these beats. I'm not getting paid to do none of that. But I mean, I love it. I mean, and even though Jey Uso's song is technically not all his theme song, it was technically taken from the Day One-ish, which was both of the Uso songs. And now that they're separated, I'm really glad Jey kept it though, because it suits him perfectly, especially with that entrance. So shout outs to Jey Uso for turning it out.
If you look at Priest's entrances in NXT with the actual spotlights, you just tell me that doesn't just drip aura. And I don't know why they would go away from that.
It does.
Go back to the Archer stuff. Like,
it does.
No need to do this.
I did enjoy that theme song very well as well, but
there are a lot of comments in terms of what they should have done. I have to try this one. Special Little Nobody says you have to see Jay's entrance with Not Like Us music on it. I need to see that. Somebody drop it somewhere so I could watch it. That's amazing. Jeffrey says you couldn't tell me they couldn't put the championship on Jay after that good entrance. I think this is the case. And again, you know, most were not in the space to see the rise of stars in the Attitude Era. That's honestly the last time we saw this many stars being built at the same time. The rise of a Triple H, a Mankind, an Undertaker, a Rock, an Austin, you know, all of them rising at the same time. They all couldn't be the world champion at the same time.
Of course.
And so, you know, they had marquee matches where they fought for the world title at a pay-per-view and lost, and it ultimately did not dim their light. I think you got multiple stories being built here with Damian Priest, with Jey Uso. One, and I say this carefully, so don't anybody come for me, but one great entrance does not a world champion make.
I was just going to say that.
So I think, you know, and it's much like, you know, people were saying months ago, you know, put the strap on LA Knight because he's hot, you know. Well, again, we've got multiple stars that are being created at the same time. Everybody can't wear the belt. So it's going to be interesting to see who can, to me, the test is who can still be the star even without the title. That's the real question. And so we'll really see what's happening here. So Boza is 50-50. He says, yes, they missed the moment. Others are saying, no, they didn't. Cousin Ron was in agreement with you said. Boza says, but people are predicting he'll be at Clash at the Castle. Let's see. Jay had a shot at every singles title in WWE within 10 months. Should have won at least one belt. I don't agree.
It's about building him as a single star. It's like the more he's in singles matches, the more you believe that he's a credible challenger.
Right.
And once you believe he's a credible challenger, you'll believe he's a credible champion. You know, and so I think about how long Damian Priest held the Money in the Bank contract. He held it for a while, but during that period, you know, people forget most of his tenure in WWE, he's been a champion. But people forget that, you know, he was a U.S. champion for like a year, held tag team titles twice, like all of these things. So I think people have to be patient when it comes to the building of a star.
Yeah, I agree. And he also held NXT North American Championship, but you know,
exactly.
You just have to be willing to watch and see the growth. Main event Jey Uso would not be. I would never have expected Jey Uso to be this version of himself 3 years ago. And totally. You know, people might have even said that when he was going against Roman that he should have won then. They probably wouldn't have known what to do with it after that. You need to take some time to build it up. And for those of you who weren't around for the Attitude Era, because I know we were, there was more than one number one guy. There was more than one being built, and that was men and some women as well in there. Like in those main five you said, Triple H, Undertaker, Austin, The Rock, Mankind, and you know you had countless others, Kane even, and being a part of those stories. But all in all, you have to take some time with building these superstars. They can't go right just because they're hot. And just because their entrance is hot, that doesn't make them a champion. You don't get championships based on your entrances, do ya? You get championships based on what you've done in the business, your accolades, and how you carried yourself as a worthy opponent. And he's definitely a worthy opponent. We know Jey Uso is going to get some gold later. We know he will get his hands on some gold. And let's not forget, he did become an undisputed tag team champion with Cody Rhodes. And so he's, you know, it's not like he's not being considered. You know, you just got to make sure you make room for everybody to grow.
It's one of those things that when it finally happens, it's just going to mean that much more.
It's gonna
like
feel
when
so
Big E
good.
finally won the title, like everybody literally rejoiced.
Yes.
So it's just gonna be one of those things where you see Jay from the pandemic era and everything with the bloodline angle to finally winning his first singles title. It doesn't matter which singles title it is, but it's going to be heavily celebrated when it finally happens.
I mean, everybody's talking all. Ooh, my light just went out. Everybody's talking all this stuff about, you know, Jey Uso winning a title. What about Finn Balor winning a title? How about that? Let's get to that first, because technically he has been going on a lost championship for years. So I mean, fight me on that if you want to, but I'm just saying.
We're going to get to Finn Balor in a little bit. Let me move a little quicker because we've got some more history that was made over the weekend as Jessica Carr becomes the first woman to referee a WWE championship match in the main event of a PLE, which I think is awesome. I love the fact that more history is being made in this regard. So shout out.
Women.
Yes. Lots of history being made by women all across the board. So congratulations to Jessica Carr. Now, speaking of this, now remember, tonight is the night that the rosters are locked for Raw and SmackDown. So all of the moments that we have seen in terms of, you know, people being drafted to SmackDown and Raw and from NXT and the like. Well, it's safe to say that there was one more move made today that, well, you guys are probably going to talk about. It's been rumored, but it is official now that Mike Rome will be heading to NXT as the ring announcer at NXT. Of course, he spent quite a bit of time at SmackDown recently, and many started asking questions, I guess, at WrestleMania, when you normally at WrestleMania, the duties are shared between the SmackDown and Raw ring announcer. Instead, the Raw ring announcer, which of course is Samantha Irvin, took on the duties for all of WrestleMania. So the question is, where would Mike Rome be? He's been on SmackDown every week since then, except of course in France, where Samantha Irvin did the duties in France. Mike Rome will be on NXT from here on in. So then the question is, what happens to Alicia Taylor? Alicia Taylor's going to the main roster, folks. And I am super pumped about this because what this means is more history. For the first time ever, the main roster brands of WWE will have two African-American women as ring announcers.
Love that.
And really, not just that, it's two women as ring announcers. Yeah. So we got all kinds of history being made in WWE. I am so excited that, I mean, I hope we're ready for a world with Alicia and Samantha giving God. Good Lord. I hope y'all are ready.
I get excited. I'm sorry. I was going to say, I get excited even for the announcements before these matches start because I make sure I want to hear every single announcement because they do it so well.
Yes. It's a special time really right now in the world of wrestling because, you know, there was a time where there were hardly any women ring announcers. You know, there was, of course, Lillian Garcia, who kind of set the bar for a lot of people in the 80s. And man, this is a name most people probably don't remember. And you didn't see a whole lot of her, but her name was Mike McGurk. She was one of the first women announcers in the WWE, but certainly you don't see a lot of it. Of course, you had Dasha over in AEW for a while. Currently, you have Jade Chung in TNA. So it's amazing to think that right now we're in a world where there are just as many women ring announcers in main promotions as there are men. And so this is really, really exciting. I am so proud of Alicia and Samantha. Both of them are absolutely incredible at what they do. So round of applause. Very well deserved. All right, then. So as we mentioned, we got our WrestleMania announcement in an unlikely place, the Kentucky Derby, where we found these two. We had a Seth Rollins sighting and a Becky Lynch sighting. No, Becky Lynch was not at Backlash because her and Seth were at the Kentucky Derby with this really awesome getup. Of course, wherever Becky goes, the world title is to follow. And this is really kind of the first time we've seen Seth out since his surgery. And people have been talking about this new look that he's sporting. Less facial hair, probably less hair in general. Might be all stuffed up under his hat. But they are a stylish crew for sure. And they are representing well at the Kentucky Derby. Any thoughts on this cool getup and this cool outing for Becky and Seth?
Like I said, more money draws, more eyes on us, more eyes on WWE. You find it, like you said, and you find them in the weirdest places. At Kentucky Derby, you won't find me watching it, but you best believe when Seth and Becky showed up, I certainly saw a bit of it. Shout outs to, I just want to give a shout out to King Troy. He's the one that styles Becky and Seth. He's one of my personal favorite stylists since he's come on board with the team, and he never misses a beat every week with these two. And of course, to be able to style for the Kentucky Derby, it's a big deal. It's a big thing. Fashion is a very big deal in the Kentucky Derby. You know, with the hats and the the pretty much overly done dramatic outfits and everything like that. And Becky's looking like an absolute flying saucer. And just like killing it. That hat is everything. I mean, I absolutely love it. I mean, you need like I'm not sure if Kentucky Derby was the right place, being that the Met Gala was today. Though I'm just saying, like, Met.
Well,
you can bring them to the Met if you want to, but
just like that,
this was certainly worth the look. And Seth looks great. Good to see him out and about. Good to see him standing. Take it easy there, Seth. We know you had a lot going on in the last year, so just please take it easy and don't rush. We miss you and we love you, and we will totally receive you just fine when we get back. So just make sure you get better. But shout outs to these two. They look great all the time. I love them.
Absolutely. Said, any thoughts on this dynamic duo?
Continuing the trend of the WWE showing up at the Kentucky Derby, I believe Bianca and Tez were just out there, not last year, the year before last. So just showing that WWE can be in all these different spaces is really cool. This is one of the more tame outfits I've seen either of them wear. So this is no comments on that. This is actually very tame for both of them. And I'm just ready for the Easter Sunday suit.
It's a casual night out.
Easter Sunday suit. That's going to be something.
Let me tell y'all something. WrestleMania is going to be the ultimate collision. When Easter Sunday meets 420, this is going to be the highest WrestleMania I think we've ever seen. So I'm pretty pumped to see. Thank you. To see what happens on this one. Now, very quickly, tag team titles changed hands at Backlash, but they also changed hands at TNA as well. At Under Siege, we have new Knockouts World Tag Team Champions as a team of Alicia Edwards and Masha Slamovich defeated the team of Spitfire at Under Siege. So I want to make sure that we shout them out. A really solid card, which, by the way, if you haven't watched TNA for a while, they've got some really cool things happening over there. And this is just random, but it's hilarious. Rich Swann is teaming with AJ Francis these days. And I was shocked because Rich Swann has shaved his facial hair.
What?
Shocking. Trust me when I tell you. You have to see it. It's like you kind of got used to him just kind of with this real grunge thing. But yeah, and they are actually calling him Rich Homie Swan, which me and several friends used to call him on a podcast several years ago. So kind of hilarious. Funny. But congratulations to Alicia Edwards and Masha Slamovich. And if anybody's paying attention, the system now holds all of the championships in TNA. Now, some other interesting news to talk about. Jerry the King Lawler and the WWE have apparently parted ways. Jerry Lawler, his contract, and it's interesting how this is happening because WWE isn't necessarily firing as many people these days. Some contracts they are allowing to expire. And here is a case where one contract expired. Now, this contract is specific for him as an on-air talent, so he's no longer going to be a broadcaster in WWE. However, he is still under a Legends deal, so that allows WWE to use his name and likeness, in a variety of projects. Of course, he's actually been out of pocket because he's had some real health challenges, including a stroke early last year. He also had double knee surgery back in March. So certainly our thoughts and prayers are with Jerry Lawler. But Jerry Lawler has been connected to the WWE since 1992. So certainly a lengthy time. And there are those that are saying that some of this is also part of, again, kind of the new regime, where in the old regime, people like Jerry Lawler seemingly never had to worry about whether or not they'd be taken care of because they automatically were kind of grandfathered in. But as they say, times are a-changing. So Jerry Lawler is gone. Also gone is Gable Steveson. He was... So let's talk about this. Gable Steveson has been released from WWE. Says he's surprised. I'm not exactly surprised. I mean, Gable Steveson has been on television a handful of times. Remember, he was drafted on Raw several years ago. When he finally had his first match in NXT, it did not go over well. He did not end up on television again. And that's a deal. But I am curious, Sid, to why you are surprised by the release of Gable Steveson.
So when you talk about what they're doing right now with NIL and getting these like collegiate athletes, this is probably one of the elite athletes. And you mean somebody like that who had such a strong wrestling career, Olympian at his age, who can pretty much go overseas in this next Olympics and probably still place. But he decided to take this career path into wrestling as opposed to continue his Olympic career. So that aspect alone just lets you know that they got one. They got like a really superior athlete. Now, it didn't work out for a number of reasons. He has some allegations under his belt, and he wasn't very received well on television. So I don't know if it was just the training or just adjusting to the style. I think where they shot themselves in the foot is that they made it seem like he had next up in Dallas when he came out at the beginning of that WrestleMania with Triple H, instead of letting him kind of build his trajectory the natural way. Because, I mean, naturally, he was going to gravitate to the sport in his own time. But the fact that you nailed a generational athlete, wrestler at that, in the prime of their career. This is not like he can't compete in the Olympic trials this year. Like, I know Jordan Burroughs and some other guys recently didn't make the trials, and the Olympic team is changing. But the fact that he left the sport of wrestling, if you would, to do professional wrestling, and it didn't work out is mind-boggling to me. Because he's in his prime. So the fact that they just let it die down because of whatever is going on response-wise says a lot. Because maybe it was just irreversible course, but the fact that they didn't say, hey, let's continue to work with you, do house shows, more time to PC, stuff like that, just to make it work is, I don't know. That surprised me.
I actually think those things happened. NXT does a ton of house shows in Florida. And most of them don't, get publicity. In fact, the young lady that he was also brought out with in Dallas, Tamara Menza Stocks, I think is her name. She's actually, yes, she's also very quietly signed to WWE. She's been wrestling on some house shows, which I think is very interesting. I don't think. The reason I'm not surprised by this is WWE historically, particularly when they're very high on someone, they give tons and tons and tons of chances. And they put him in there with Baron Corbin, probably one of the guys who, if you're going to go in there against somebody, that's why he spent so much time in NXT, to really help a lot of those people get better. I think there's a point. I'll put it to you this way. If I give up my current career in the prime of my brain working and all the things to go and pursue a career in painting, that is an honorable thing to do. But I can tell you I'm not very good at painting. And so as much as they try to train me in things, if I don't get it, they're going to get rid of me at some point. And so I think this is one of those cases where, you know, we've seen the Kurt Angles of the world. We've seen the Brock Lesnar's of the world, even though we probably aren't supposed to mention his name. We've seen the Shelton Benjamins of the world, these collegiate wrestlers, these amateur wrestlers who've made the transition into the pros very easily. But that's not necessarily what will happen for everybody. And I think WWE initially in signing him may have had those ideas in their head, but those are, you know, once in a generation kind of athletes. And it doesn't look like that's the case for Gable Steveson.
I'd love to know when they got to the point of diminishing return, though. I would love to know, like, what was that exact moment where
it
maybe
probably
they had to sit down
was the
backstage.
match. It probably was the match. And here's why I say that. Remember, they shipped a ring to this guy in college. They invested a lot, you know? And so it's like, if it doesn't pan out, you know, here's what's crazier. What's crazier, and I think somebody mentioned it in the chat, that his brother, Damian Kemp, far better.
Yeah,
And
I'm not
so
really
So here's why this like blows my mind, especially under this new umbrella that we have, is because usually when you're an Olympic wrestler, you have multiple avenues. You can continue going to the Olympics until you kind of age yourself out. But now with this new banner, TKO has WWE and UFC. He has both of those avenues he can choose. So I wonder if it's just like one of those things where maybe pursues Olympics and then goes to the UFC. That's still an option for him at this age.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but people might call me an a-hole for this, but I don't know so much about Gable Steveson. I was never really high on Gable Steveson. But when they first mentioned him and, you know, had said that they were going to be bringing him in, my eyes were definitely on him. But there's just, and, you know, there was just so many of the Brock Lesnar comparisons and the Shelton Benjamin comparisons and the Kurt Angle comparisons. The difference between him and those other three for me is that you couldn't teach those three to be what they were. They were exactly what they were. And I think with Gable Steveson, where he got lost in the sauce was that we know he was an Olympic athlete. So right away we thought, oh, Kurt Angle. Oh, right away, Shelton Benjamin. Oh, this is going to be just fine. Sometimes it just doesn't pan out that way. And it all depends on the individual themselves. Shelton, Kurt, and Brock were able to take it in places that they were able to take it and run with the torch. Because look at their legacy now. Look at what they leave behind. Gable Steveson, not so much. I don't think he was just a little too green for me. I don't even think, like, he was, you know, you could tell from the reaction of the crowd immediately that he didn't get along with them, that they weren't really for him. I think he tried a little too hard. It seems it comes off that way, I guess. Like, even on screen, it just came off like he was just trying too hard to be there and play the same route that Kurt Angle was on and everything like that. Like, we all can't be Kurt Angle. You know, you couldn't teach Kurt Angle to be an Olympic winner for a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. You just don't teach that. You know what I'm saying? Gable Steveson is like, oh, I'm here and I'm an Olympic gold medalist and I'm going to be a wrestler. No, I'm okay. I'll pass. And good luck to the young man wherever he goes from here.
Was a mistake not pairing him with his brother from the jump and trying to like recreate some type of Steiner Brothers angle in NXT?
If you had a point to do that and maybe recreate something with the two of them and create an intensity that's, I don't know, say that could spar with the Creed brothers, that would have been awesome. But I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not sure what it was that got lost in the sauce, whether it was WWE's side or whether it was his side. It was just a mesh. It was just a very bad pot of bad cooking, you know, like and I just didn't want to eat it.
Well, there it is. There it is. Wow. So very quickly, I don't want to do that. Quickly, happy birthday. Sorry, I said that out loud. I'm so sorry. Happy birthday, Dakota Kai. Happy birthday, Piper Niven. And I'm sorry I didn't have a graphic, but happy birthday, Lash Legend.
Oh, yes.
Happy birthday to them all. A couple of other quick, man, we're blowing this time out of the water, but it is what it is, right? So I think this is amazing. unless you've been under a rock, you probably are aware that there's a small battle happening in hip hop right now, involving Kendrick Lamar and Drake. These guys have been feeding us with more tracks over the last 7 days than any of them normally do in a given calendar year. And so who would be smart enough to step up to the plate and try to settle this as only he can? Shawn Michaels.
My God.
Shawn Michaels has issued a tweet out to both Kendrick Lamar and Drake, an invitation to bring their diss track to Orlando and come settle it at NXT. Now, if this were probably any other time in wrestling, I would think, nah, this might not happen. But what do you think?
Did we hear the WrestleMania soundtrack?
Could these two find their way, if not to Orlando, possibly to Vegas?
Possibly. I don't see why not. They've both been there and sold out over there.
The Canadian needs some good PR, so he might have to do that right now. I don't think this is something that Kendrick would do.
No.
Being totally honest, but very good on WWE to try to get a piece of this pie. That's the smartest thing you can do. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I see you, Dylan. I'm pretty sure Hickenbottom heard the lyric featuring his name.
Yes, he did. That's why he
music, and I ain't giving up the ox. I'm pretty sure he heard that and was like, "Oh, let me put some tweets out." So smart on him to try to get a piece of the pie and extend that invite. I don't think either party will take it up on their offer though, but you never know. You never know if there's a song that's released later this year and you can make it the official theme song. Because I mean, Lord knows the Weeknd and had a chokehold on that for like 8 years.
Okay, 5 years in a row consecutively. But I know I will say this: I don't think it's Kendrick's bag. I think he would dabble, but I think one Drake would dabble with that more than the other.
Here's what we don't know: we don't know how many of them are wrestling fans. And the fact that the lyric ended up in one of these diss tracks says somebody is.
There's like 3 wrestling references in that record.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Somebody's a fan. Let's also remember that I think it was either last year or the year before, a certain Cardi B was supposed to be at SummerSlam. They started using her track as a theme and everything, and she got pregnant, and that ended up not working. We've seen Snoop Dogg show up. We've seen a lot of people who are fans. And so we don't know whether or not they're fans, but if it showed up in a lyric, somebody somewhere is a fan.
Come on, King Kendrick.
Let me just tell you, if one of them shows up or both of them at some point shows up, it's going to be a thing. And nobody will capitalize on it quite like WWE. So I think that has potential to be something amazing. So I'm really
maybe Shawn can't do it, but it might be a job for the final boss.
The final boss could
we know he heard that Jabroni line. We know he heard that.
And by the way, he had a birthday over the weekend as well. Happy birthday to the final boss. The final boss. I got to say it that way. It's only right. So Paul Walter Hauser, I just thought I'd mention this, continues to show up and pursue his wrestling dream. The last time we saw him, of course, was Mania week. He was in a battle against Sami Callihan. Well, Paul Walter Hauser found himself in a Georgia promotion this weekend. He was at Southern Honor Wrestling this weekend.
Wow.
And he was the guest matchmaker there. And he was involved in the main event, which was a War Chamber match, double ring, cage in it. He was involved. And he helped to win that match for the Hierarchy against the End Game. Incredible time there. That night was pretty wild as well. The Infantry showed up. Also, a certain Tony Schiavone was in the house. Britt Baker was in the house. So it was pretty wild to see all of the things that happened at this Southern Honor show. I had the privilege of calling that show. And I'll let you guys know when it hits IWTV, which will likely be sooner than later. Before we go, and I know we're running into overtime, so thank you guys for hanging out with us. Tonight kicks off the qualifying rounds for the King and Queen of the Ring tournament. The tournament will culminate, of course, in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia on May the 25th, which is just in a couple of weeks. And we've got a ton of first round matches happening tonight. And so for those of you who say there's not enough wrestling on Monday Night Raw, well, tonight is your night. All 8 of these qualifying matches are happening tonight on Raw. I don't remember the last time that we had 8 advertised matches on Monday Night Raw. So let's start with the women, since this is women's wrestling talk. This first round looks crazy. You got Io Sky, the former WWE Women's Champion, taking on Natalya. You got the newly drafted Lyra Valkyria taking on Asuka, a battle of 2 of the great NXT Women's Champions. You've got Shayna Baszler taking on the only woman to be called Queen of the Ring, that is Zelina Vega. And then Zoe Stark takes on Ivy Nile. Your thoughts and predictions, who makes it past the first round on the women's side?
I'm upset. They did my girl Zelina dirty. They doing my girl dirty. You know, like, come on, guys. Like, can my girl catch a break? WWE, am I gonna have to like send a letter to HR or somebody in creative back there, because I'm a little upset. My La Muñeca is not getting the shine that she deserves, and she is the former and only Queen of the Ring. I don't understand what's happening here, but I'll pray that she pulls it off. I pray that she pulls it off. I mean, it's hard to consider that, being that Baszler's hot right now, and we got NXT Battleground coming underway, and she's coming off the cusp of helping. What happened there? Who should help? Lola Vice. Excuse me. How do I forget?
The mayor was not pleased.
I know, and I did that just to see if I get a reaction. I got the reaction I wanted. I was like, "Who she fought again?" No, but being that she's coming off the cusp of assisting Miss Lola Vice with her with her match at Battleground, I'm not really pleased with this first round here. So it's hard to say, but I'm not going to go against my homie Vega. So I'm just going to root for my girl all the way through. Maybe she'll pull it off.
All right. Said, any thoughts on who will advance in this first round of the women's tournament?
So I'll spare you guys the natty slander today, but I will say that Natalya and Shayna both have duties that call them in NXT. So I'm saying that Io and Vega will actually skate by somehow. I think they'll cancel each other out. Maybe Natalya comes ringside during Shayna's match. I think Io can get the job done clean. Maybe there's some damage control influence there. I think there's 2 others. The others interest me a little bit more because I can make a case that Ivy Nile goes over, just because Zoe's been kind of jawing with Jada Parker for a period of time now. So I think once these rosters lock, you might see that happen. But yeah, I think Ivy gets over, and then Kabuki's just dropped. So I mean, that's going to be a good showing for Lyra, but I'll take Asuka. I'll take Asuka. You got to have I think this is meant to crown somebody new, give them a moment. But I think this is going to be Lyra's first good showing. Is like, hey, welcome to the main roster.
Okay.
Or my girl Zelina could pull a 2-time Queen of the Ring and just surprise all of you guys. Just like,
well, that would be interesting. There are a lot of thoughts over here saying give Zelina a chance, which I think would
thank
be
you, Dylan.
Very cool. Boza says they did Queen Zelina dirty. Let's see. Past winner should get a pass in the first round. That makes sense to me. But at least this winner is actually included in the King of the Ring tournament, or the Queen of the Ring tournament, because the previous King of the Ring is not in this year's tournament. That, of course, is Xavier Woods. Instead, on the men's side, it was scheduled to be Drew McIntyre versus Finn Balor, which I thought was going to cook. Ooh. But we found out that Drew McIntyre is not medically cleared, so we do not know who his replacement will be yet. I'm sure we'll find out close to the top of the hour. Who knows?
I think it will be him. I think we run it back. That's going to be the finals. The finals that they had. They're going to run that back. Woods,
I like it. Woods and Finn. I'm here for it. That would be really, really dope. And maybe this is Finn's road to redemption, honey. And I know you'd be very interested in that. This match here.
Oh my God, it hurts my chest already. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts.
Gunther
It hurts.
and Sheamus are going to run it back. I can't wait.
Again.
Kofi Kingston apparently with no T against Rey Mysterio. I can't believe WWE screwed this up. No one gets this wrong usually in terms of the spelling of his name, but I think this match is going to cook. And this
one I'm excited for. I'm so excited for this
nearly had a conniption when I saw Ricochet fighting Ilya Dragunov.
Don't watch this one, Samantha. Don't watch this one at all, Samantha.
This is gonna hurt for her. Yeah, sorry, girl. So sorry, Samantha. But these are really good. The men's for some reason I feel is a little bit more exciting to me. But you know the women's is very exciting. But
do we have actual bracket yet?
I have not seen a bracket yet.
No,
not
so
yet. Hopefully tonight we'll get to see one.
Probably after tonight.
If there's a pathway to Ilya and Gunther in like round 2,
I was just getting to that. I was just getting to that because I want that really bad. I need Gunther and Ilya in the finals. Run it back NXT UK style. Please.
And don't disrespect me, WWE, and give me like Gunther and Ray. We don't do that.
No.
Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. Give me Gunther and Ilya Dragunov, and let's see the transition from the Mad Dragon to the Mad King. Come on now. Yeah. Come on now. Who's with it? The Mad King.
So let me ask you this question, and I'm very interested in your perspective on this. When they first announced, this is the succinct way to ask this. After you saw the first round matches, did you think any differently about the King and the Queen of the Ring tournament than you did when it was first announced?
You mean like when it came back, or just like this rendition?
Right. So when they announced this year that they're doing King and Queen of the Ring and they had not named anybody, I'm sure we all had one thought in our mind. Then when we saw this weekend these matches announced, did it change your perspective on King and Queen of the Ring this year?
Yeah, it did. Because I think this is meant to King and Queen of the Ring. We're gonna have qualifying matches, but the culmination is going to be at one of the which pick PLE.
The culmination will be at the King and Queen of the Ring PLE.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the one at Saudi Arabia.
Gotcha. See, I mean, just the lineup, the superstars chosen, I feel like they could have went some different directions. Like we're talking about singles titles for Jay. I think King Jay would have been right up his alley to keep him hot. Seeing that LA Knight isn't in this tournament is also surprising. This new version of Chad Gable not being in this King of the Ring is surprising because I think that could kind of carry that character a long way. And I love King of the Ring tournaments. I hope that they lead to title shots for these people who eventually win. And I will keep kicking this dead horse, man. Baron Corbin had to be King of the Ring for like 2 damn years. Like legit. That was his whole thing for like 2 years, like well into the pandemic era and coming out of it. So it's like
King Corbin.
We could have at least let Woods have his own individual theme music for a good period of time. Same with Zelina. They could have let it rock for a long period because it's been a while since that happened. So I hope that we take this King and Queen of the Ring seriously and actually allow it to build different storylines because of it.
Yeah.
Honey, your thoughts?
I mean, it kind of did change my mind, especially with the Drew McIntyre news. At first, like in the beginning when no one was announced, I was like, oh, Gunther, he just lost the IC title. He would be a great King of the Ring. He's a master at the ring, and you know he always speaks highly and respectfully of this sport. So I figure like King would be very King Gunther would be very fitting for him. But then I saw Ilya Dragunov moved up and they had him on the list. I was like, oh, this got a little bit more interesting. And I know damn well that they're going to run that back. They have to. They have to. They need to be the final. They need to be the final. You guys heard? I'm sticking with that. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I'm very interested to see what the SmackDown brackets will look like, and if those brackets will be separate and culminate with a Raw versus SmackDown person in the finals as they did last year, or will they mix it up And if they do, again, I will say that when I saw these names all mentioned, it immediately said, oh, we're taking this tournament seriously. Because the previous tournaments, no knock to Zelina, no knock to Woods, did not feel as weighty as these do.
Know what you mean.
So I'm very, very excited to see. I mean, you definitely have, you've got former world champions in this. This doesn't feel like a mid-card movement right now.
No.
So that's where I'm just like, wow, this is pretty amazing. All right, well, we got to get ready to go. Again, we've gone over time, but you guys rock with us. We actually have stories we did not cover, and maybe we'll get to them on Wednesday. Maybe we won't. But either way, Monday Night Raw is a thing that you guys will be able to check out in about 30 minutes from right now. And so that's exciting, Dylan. That's hilarious. We are in a new era. Yes, indeed we are.
We really
and no,
are.
They did not do anything with their wins, and I think that's really wild. Okay, so here's how you can reach out to us on these in these social streets. Honey.
You can find me here Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays with the WWT crew every week. Also, don't forget to check every Friday at 8 during SmackDown. We got Honey SmackDown Watch Along. Come in and talk all that wrestling ish with me, and we can start the weekend off right. Don't forget to also check out my Honey Pop predictions that are usually done before Raw and SmackDown every week. And TikTok Wrestling with Honey, Instagram Wrestling with Honey, Facebook Wrestling W Honey, and YouTube Wrestling with Honey podcast.
Awesome sauce. Said, how can they find you?
You can find me on these Twitter streets at says at CEWD_SAYS. On the gram, Said is the answer. I write for Daily DDT in this platform and have journalistic work out there as well. If you just Google my name. I'm also on this platform throughout the week. Sometimes I'm on time, sometimes I'm not. And if you can be so kind, if you can go on these internet streets and do a couple hashtags for me, I want you to hashtag blame Jacob Lawrence or blame Jay Della. I want you to do hashtag Hill TK because TK still ain't wrote the check yet. And if you want to go a step further, if you would be so kind in this lovely month of May, please send our favorite Canadian that runs this platform all of your Kendrick Not Like Us renditions on the internet. If you are a TikToker or a dancer, please tag her in all of those creative videos. She deserves to see that art. Maybe you will be featured on this platform in one of our commercials.
Oh boy, I completely forgot. Also, don't forget to check out that NXT post show every Wednesday morning.
Yes,
about that. Thank you, boss lady.
Yes. And of course, you can find me at Bonnerfied across all of the social spaces. You can check out my commentary work if you're interested for Southern Honor and IWE on IWTV. Again, we just had a big show with Southern Honor this past Friday. Can't wait for that to hit IWTV. And I've got a big show with IWE coming this Saturday as well. You can check out my work with the Nightmare Factory on their YouTube page. We just dropped Student Showcase 13, where you can see some of the members of their training camp in their very first wrestling match, doing commentary for that. Check that out on the Nightmare Factory YouTube page. You can also check out my work with Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling there as well. My work with All Caribbean Wrestling is on YouTube, on their YouTube page, and there are more matches dropping from Philly Mania that you'll want to go back and check out. That was so much fun. And at All Caribbean, we're gearing up to head to the Caribbean this summer. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to tell you guys about that. You can also check out my work with Ashe Wrestling at AsheWrestling.com. And, of course, on the Ashe Wrestling social, some really funny stuff is out there. So check that out. And then, of course, in case you missed it, you can head to Fight TV or Triller TV and check out the Shad Gaspard Memorial Cup Tournament. Had the privilege of doing all the commentary for that. So check that out as well. It sounds like I'm pretty busy. So check all that stuff out.
Booked and busy, babes.
I'm grateful. I'm absolutely grateful. Of course, you can check out all things Women's Wrestling Talk right here at Women's Wrestling Talk. Check out www.talkpod.com as the website, www.talkpod on the socials. Of course, check out our NXT post show, our Ring of Honor post show, our WOW post show. Of course, post shows for pay-per-views and PLEs. They're all there. There's something else I was supposed to mention.
Episodes?
It left me that fast, and it'll come back.
300?
Yes, that's what it was. I knew it was something. We are approaching episode 300 of this show, WWT Live. So be on the lookout. That's coming very, very soon. You will want to be here for this. I remember, I believe, episode 100, the boss lady did some really fun things. I don't know what she's going to do for this one. I'm not going to put her on the spot and tell you guys what she did last time because I don't want y'all to hold her to that. But I do know for sure.
But you should.
Y'all gonna get me in trouble with the boss lady. But I know for sure episode 300 will be very, very special. So you guys do not want to miss it. Stay connected to us on the socials to find out when that is. And make sure you're here. It's going to be a party. Shout out to everybody in the chat. MDB and Jeffrey and Boza and Matt and Dylan and Special Little Nobodies and Eric. And all of the people. I'm missing some folks, so forgive me. Charge it to my head, not to my heart. Eddie, Drake, and K-Dot, if you're out there, shout out to you as well. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We appreciate you guys so very much. We'll be back here on Wednesday for WWT Live, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Peace.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WW Talk Pod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www.talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.